This is the Boston Sports Pod, the podcast that brings you all things Boston sports with Joe and Shawn. Today is May 27th, 2014. I'm Shawn Klein, and my co-host is Joe Danker. What's up, Joe?
Hey, Shawnee, how you doing?
I'm good. So, did you have a nice Memorial Day?
Yeah, I had a real nice Memorial Day. Very relaxing. Did some barbecuing with the family. Yeah, just kick back and relax. It's not like in our younger days where we might go out and party a little bit. Now it's just take a break from work, spend time with family, relax, read, rest. That kind of stuff.
That's
Being
good.
40 years old, it's time to kind of
Settle down
kick
finally.
back a little bit. Yeah, well, settle down at least that portion of my life. Yeah. How about
Yeah,
you, man? How was your holiday weekend?
it was good. We did some family things, spent the day together, went shopping, that kind of family stuff. The weather was nice until Monday, and then it sort of was stormy most of the day, so that kind of killed everybody's barbecues and stuff. And I had a lot of work to do on Monday anyway for other stuff, so uh, you know, it was still nice though. Spend the weekend with the family. It's good.
How was the weather, huh? Good one day, not good the other day.
The weekend was good. It was Monday was kind of stormy up and down.
Yeah, the weather here was supposed to be kind of like nice and like in the 70s, maybe 80, partly sunny. It rained every day.
Yeah,
It rained every day. It was like it didn't pour, it wasn't like a washout, but every day there was showers. The best day was supposed to be Monday. It was like overcast the whole time.
well, you know
But
what, you know why?
no, I don't.
It was the gods of sport were crying because the Red Sox are so bad.
That's what it was, right?
So what's going on here? What is going on with the Red Sox? They lost.
Whew.
Wait,
They lost
uh,
10 straight.
they lost 10 straight. They finally won a game. They're losing
Man,
right now.
are they? I thought it was tied. Are they
Yeah,
losing now?
yeah,
Yeah, you're right. 3-2.
yeah,
Come on, Leicester. Well, they're 21 and 29. They're 8 games out right now, and it's starting to get to the point, Shawn, where it's not okay anymore. Like you can start off the season and go, a month and a half, and kind of struggle around 500, a couple games below, whatever. And we've been fortunate enough that the AL East has been very mediocre. But now with that 10-game losing streak, we've dropped to last place, 8 games out. Now it's
yeah,
like, oi, oi, oi,
yeah. It's
we've
bad.
dug a hole. Yeah, I mean,
So the
what's the
honeymoon,
best we can hope for?
so the honeymoon's over. The grace period's over.
Um, yeah, I believe it is now officially.
Yeah,
10-game losing streak. Yep, that'll do it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, because we were willing to, I think, see the Sox, you know, struggle here and there, lose games, lose some series, make it to the playoffs, not really do much. I think we were all sort of like, okay, we got, the third World Series in 10 years. Feeling pretty good. Looking at the teams, yeah, it's a good team. Maybe they'll have a little bit of a slump after the World Series, and everything seemed to go so well last year. So maybe there'd be a little bit of a slump. We're okay with that. At least that's what we said, in the beginning of the season. And then they weren't good in April, and you're like, it's April. And then May came around. It's May. Now we're looking at
It's
the end.
still early.
It's still early. Now we're looking at the end of May. They lost 10 games in a row, 8 games out of first place. I mean, yeah, the bottom's falling out.
Yeah,
People are
yeah,
freaking out. Freaking out.
yeah, yeah. No, it's now it's at the point where, yeah, it's something dramatic has to change. Something has to happen. I mean, can you hope for them to go on a 10-game winning streak? Hallelujah. If they do, they're 1 game over 500 or something like that. I mean, good Lord. I mean, it's not a pretty picture right now.
No, and to win, to get to that like 90 win plateau, they got to win a lot of games. They really got to go
Right.
the rest of the
They got
way.
to be like 700 ball or 750
Yeah.
ball or something ridiculous
So
like that.
so that's going to be pretty ugly. I mean, you can't, as they say, you can't win the division in spring. right? May. You're not going
But
to
you
win
can
the
lose
division,
it.
but you can lose it, and I think we've lost it. I mean,
Yeah.
that said, I mean, Toronto's in first place. It's weird, actually, if you look at the standings. What Toronto's in first place, then the Yankees, then Baltimore, then the Rays, and then the Sox. And I think that that's sort of flipped of what I think a lot of people probably expected going into the season. You know,
Yeah. Totally.
I mean, the
You
Yankees
would have
weren't supposed to
expected.
do anything. Toronto is Toronto,
No.
so no one ever expects anything out of them.
No.
Tampa Bay is always, in the recent years been very strong. Baltimore's come on the last couple of years, so, Showalter and so on. So, I think I think looking at the division, it's kind of upside down. So a lot can change. Toronto could easily lose 10 games. Uh, and the
Yeah, they
Yankees,
could.
the Yankees will probably, pull back, regress to the mean, as they say, and uh, I think they've played better than expected, so they'll probably go through a period where they play worse than expected. Um, the Red Sox too. I mean, they've definitely played worse than expected. And partly it's okay. Well, what's been going on? Why are they losing? There's a lot of reasons. When you lose 10 games in a row, it's not one thing. It's not one or two
Yeah.
things. It's like 20 different things.
No, it's like everything. Yeah.
When you look at these last 10 games, a lot was just bad luck too, just stupid errors. They threw away a lot of games, leaving men on base in certain positions and stuff. So, I mean, a lot of it is correctable. A lot of it is stuff that will start to flow the other way. You'll the balls will bounce in your direction rather than away from you and so on. So, some of that will change and that will help. I mean, certainly when you look at last season, everything went their way. They got
Right.
pretty much, every call and everything just went their way. And right now, you're sort of paying for that, as it comes back the other way.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a part of it, but that only explains, if I can just pull a number out of my ass, that only explains 33% of of
Okay.
that 10 game losing streak, I think. So,
Okay.
if we try to break
What's the
down the
other
rest of,
70%? Yeah.
well, that would be 67% if you do your math
Oh,
right.
I'm sorry. I thought you said 30. Okay, 33. Yeah. I know how to add. I know how to add to 100.
I can add. Um, yeah, well, pitching is a big part of it. I mean, Buchholz has
Yeah.
been terrible.
Huge.
Buchholz has just
Yeah,
fallen off.
that's another topic altogether, Buckles. But yeah,
Yeah. I
he
mean,
has been he's been brutal.
I sent you that text the other day. Is he done?
Yeah.
Is he just done? I mean, they're already talking about skipping his next start.
Hmm.
I think there's very little chance he has his next start. I don't know if they're going to put him on the DL eventually, send him down for some stints, rehab stints or whatever. But I
Hmm.
don't think, you hear some of the talking heads, uh, and they're like, look, this guy's got so much talent. He's got to be injured. He's got to be injured. And maybe he
Hmm.
is. But look, last year when he came back after his injury, the doctors were all saying, look, there's nothing wrong with him. Physically,
Hmm.
everything's where it's supposed to be. Everything's, as it's supposed to be. And, he was never the same guy after that. And I think it's a confidence issue. I think, and it's a mental issue. I think
Hmm.
he goes out there on the mound and he doesn't believe in himself in some way that he's just not going to be able to do it. And so he doesn't. It becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. I think he just doesn't have the mental aspect, or at least he's had it before. I think he can get it again. Maybe he will get it again, but it's hard to see that he's just going to show up at his next start and be the pitcher we saw at the beginning of last year, or even the pitcher we saw the
No.
year before that. I mean,
No.
it's hard to see that he's going to do that without, maybe if he goes somewhere else. I mean,
Maybe
that's
he
a
needs a fresh
possibility.
start somewhere.
A fresh start where he's not under the kind of scrutiny that he's under in Boston, But I don't know. I mean, who's going to take him? And we're not certainly not going to get value for him. I mean, they were talking. I
Mm.
heard. I tuned into Maloney today, and um, although what the hell is this midday with MFB? Who the hell came up with
Yeah,
that name?
Christian, the new guy Benz. I think his name is Jim or something like that. Tim, I
Tim
don't know.
Tim Benz.
Tim Benz, Tim
Who
Benz,
sound
Christian Fourier, and Lou Merlone.
and he sounds almost just like Mutt. Don't you think?
But
I mean,
yeah,
he
he kind of
turning up.
does. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I like Fourier, and I love
He's all
Lou.
right.
Right, he's a
Lou's
hometown boy.
great.
I mean, Framingham.
He's
There
our
we go.
boy. Yeah.
Shout out.
Shout
He
out.
is who he is because my dad coached him in little league. Um,
Yeah. And I played ball with him in high school, so we're boys.
Yeah, so he wouldn't recognize you on the street, I'm sure. But
No, he
and
wouldn't.
but uh yeah. So
Cool
I mean,
voice.
and I love him on the radio, absolutely, and I like Martin
No,
Lou,
he's
and
actually really good.
he is.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
And Mutt's
But
on at night. I think Mutt
just the pre and
replaced.
post games on
Oh, okay.
I.
Okay. I thought he was taking over from Mikey Adams, which I thought would have been great because Adams is cooked,
Oh
in
yeah,
my opinion. But
yeah.
anyway,
I don't like that. You and I could replace Adams, and I think we'd do a better job.
seriously,
Um,
seriously.
but yeah, but that's a terrible name. Midday with MFB. I mean, come on, just do like midday sports, or just come up with the
Yeah, I
midday.
know.
I mean, you get MFB. That's just stupid.
Yeah,
That's just
I
dumb.
don't think that'll last too long. Yeah,
No.
yeah,
But anyway, they
yeah.
someone there was a caller, someone was talking, and it's like, oh, we could trade Buchholz to the Cubs and for a couple like their prospects. It's like, why would
Oh,
they
one
do
of those typical Boston fan trades where
that?
we
Yeah,
just
but Lou,
assume another club is going to go along with what we want.
right, which Lou
It's
usually rips
ridiculous,
into. Lou usually
right?
rips into those guys, but he was all
But he
for it.
didn't.
No, he was
Was he?
like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I'd be interested in that. And I was just like, what? No, no, they're not going to take him for that. What do you get? You're not going to get anything for him right now.
Well, look,
He hasn't had a quality
Buckles.
start since last June or
Well, look,
July.
Buckles does have some value, Sean. I think you might be underselling him a little bit. He does have some value. I mean, he went 17-9 with like a 2.34, 2.23 on average just 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Then
Yeah,
he got injured. Then he came out and he was blowing the doors off the American League to start the season last year.
yeah.
People remember that. I mean, he could have gone 25-0. I mean, you know what I mean? People remember that. So he
But I
got
think they
injured and
also
he was off to a really tough start. So his value is not even close to what it could have been
right.
last year. But he does have value, Sean. He's only 29 years old. His value might be, as of today, higher than it will ever be if you're the Red Sox, okay, here in Boston, if Buckles is here in Boston. So if you're looking to move him, well, I certainly think it's a worthy idea to move him now. If he goes through the rest of the season pitching like this, well, obviously,
But here's
it's
the
decreasing
problem.
value as it goes. But
Here's the problem, though. I mean, if we trade Buchholz, we need a starting pitcher in return. You know, unless you want to just go total youth amendment, we need a starting pitcher in return.
well,
You
yeah,
know,
unless you want to bring up Henry Owens, but
right?
um,
But
okay,
that's I don't know if that's going to go any better than just having Workman and or stretching out
yeah,
what's that other guy's name, Capiano or whatever, stretching out one of
Capuano,
those
yeah,
guys, yeah, then
Joe
bringing up
Mazan.
Owen, who I don't know from nothing on prospects, and it's not like I'm down in
Either.
Pawtucket watching games or anything, but you know
No, I am every day.
I mean, and everything you hear is wonderful about this guy, but he's still
Henry
probably,
Owens.
yeah, he's still 2 years away, I
Yeah,
would bet, and he's
yeah.
certainly not going to be able to come in and be a number two guy, number three guy, three
All
guy.
right, so you're right. They do need a starting pitcher in
Yeah,
return. Someone who could jump in and be a 3, 4, or 5.
right.
Three would be hoping for too much, but fourth or fifth starter. But then we've got Dubront, who I guess is injured, right?
Yeah,
He
Dubron's
went on the
injured.
DL.
Yeah,
Um,
and he was
yeah,
awful before that. I mean, I don't know if that was
he
injury
was having a
connected,
terrible season.
but he was
I don't know
terrible.
what. God, no, it's just it's pitiful. It's pitiful. But I mean, to cap it off about Buckles, um, if it's an injury, if he's injured and he's not letting anybody know about it, then I give him a lot of credit for pitching, trying to pitch through it, because that's actually the opposite. I doubt it's that, but that would be the opposite of the Buckles that we've known over the past few years. Someone who, you know, the sun, the moon, and the stars had to be aligned correctly for him to pitch a good game. He had to feel
Right.
perfect. He wouldn't go out there. There was a knock on him last year that he wouldn't. They said he was ready. He didn't feel he was ready, et cetera, to come back out after the injury. So if it's an injury, okay, I give him credit for that, but I doubt it. I think more towards what you were saying. It's mental. It's a confidence issue. His mechanics have been terrible. Okay, he still has the stuff, but the location is pitiful. Um, the uh, the placement of the pitch, not the location, but the pitch selection has been awful, and his command is just he walked 8 guys last
Right.
night, yesterday. So there's something terribly wrong with
In
his
like three
pitching.
or
So
four
I,
innings.
in like 3 or 4 innings. So
Yeah.
I do think it is mental with him in many ways. And the bad thing about that is we've seen pitchers, Daniel Bard, Rick Ankiel, who've come on the scene here in Boston or elsewhere and looked like wonderkids and pitched terrifically and looked like they had a great future ahead of them to just lose it.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that Buckles is going down that road. Um, and it's too bad. There was an article on Boston.com this morning by Michael Kaufman that said he thinks we've seen the best of Buckles here in Boston.
Yeah.
That his time has passed. He threw that no hitter in his second major league outing. Then the 17-9 season and 9-0, 9-1 start last year. We've seen the best of him, at least here in Boston, and that's kind of sad because this kid had a lot of potential. He looked like he was going to be you someone who could really anchor the. He and Lester were going to be one and two or 1-1A, for the next
Yeah.
few years. And now he's 29 and he seems to have lost it. And I think it's kind of sad. I do think it's kind of sad because I do think it's mental confidence issue, and those are tougher to tougher to fix than just a physical injury. So
Yeah.
it's too bad about Buckles. But back to what I mean. I do think you know try to move him. Do you send him to the minor leagues? He has some minor league options. I've heard them talked about. He's not going to make his next start. It doesn't sound like it. Whenever the coach comes out and says he's not sure about the next start, you can pretty much pencil that in as not happening.
Yeah.
So what to do with him? I don't know. I don't know. It's not a good situation, and
Well, I think send him down
yeah,
to the minors. I mean, depending on the option situation, I think he's, whatever he needs to work on, whether it's confidence or mechanics, Pawtucket's a better place to work on that, where he can,
sure.
go against batters that he can, you know, dominate over, and that can be a little confidence boost for him. Or if it's more mechanical, he can spend some time working on his mechanics without having,
Without
everyone
having
breathe.
his major league record be on the line and in the
Right,
spotlight of everything, he can struggle through and work on his mechanics without every pitch and every outing be
right.
so important like they are every Red Sox game. And
Yeah.
with the Red Sox in the situation that they're in right now, 8 games back, and free falling, you just can't afford to put Buckles out there anymore right now.
No, no, and you know, yeah, I'm not really. I mean, unless they could find a good deal, I don't think they'll get a good enough deal to make it attractive to move him. So I think
You
the
might be
minor
right.
league stint is the way to
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
Um, because he's just been terrible. And on
yeah.
the other pitching, we talked about DeBron, right? DeBron's been
Mhm.
awful. Maybe it was hurt, but he was awful. Lackey, Lackey's been good.
He's been good.
He's been
He's
good.
been good. I'll give him that. Yep.
PV,
Lester's PV.
Lester.
Yeah.
Or who you want to talk about first?
Well, Well, Lester's been very good. Inconsistent lately, though. What's
Yeah,
he doing tonight? He's given up 3 runs over how many innings?
six.
Just a few, 6 innings. So look, he's putting out a quality outing right now. He's been the best of the bunch. Not perfect, but the best of the bunch. PV was excellent. Well, was very good through the first part of April and May, but recently he's had his struggles. So there's a blame to go around. I mean, I don't know. Do you have a lot of confidence in the pitching staff right now?
No,
No, I don't either.
no. I mean, I have no
And
confidence in any. I mean, if Lester certainly seems to be the one who's been a little bit more solid, but in some ways I have a little bit more confidence in Lackey just for his consistency. PV
see
PV
that.
is a basket case. You never know what the hell you're going to get from him.
Yeah.
So it's just, and anybody else after that, start talking about other guys you might fill in. None of those guys are guys you're gonna. They could give you a great outing, but like a Workman or whatever. But you're not gonna hang your
It's not a
hat on those
long-term
guys.
solution.
No,
No.
no. So that I mean, pitching's been a problem.
Yep. Hitting.
Hitting has been a problem. Although, I
A
mean, they've
fucking disaster. Excuse me, but it is. I mean, who's the leadoff hitter right now? Who
Holt,
led off tonight?
Holt.
Right? Do we miss Jacoby Ellsbury? Yes. Would we have paid him that kind of money?
No,
No. But yes, we
no.
miss him.
Of
Uh,
course. I mean, but we knew that. I mean, look, I mean, we knew that when Ellsbury left, we knew we were going to miss him and what he brings to the table.
correct.
We also knew to a person, I think, of a Red Sox fan, anyone with any Red Sox fan with a brain, knew there's a chance in hell you're going to give him that kind of contract. That contract is an
No.
awful contract, no matter
No.
how,
Yeah.
even no matter how.
Yankees are going to regret that one way or another sooner
Yes.
or later.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous contract. So I have no issue with that. Now, where you have an issue, maybe it was the same thing was going on with Lester right now. Maybe they could have tried to tie him up a little bit earlier.
Mm,
I don't think that was possible with Ellsbury. Ellsbury was looking for a payday. You don't sign
yes,
Scott Boras
correct.
unless you're looking for a payday. That's end of
Right.
story,
We were
right?
not going to sign Ellsbury. That's
No.
it's a fact. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, if you try, maybe you could try to lock him up a little bit earlier. That's the only,
maybe.
and maybe
But
they
with
did.
his
They
injury
did.
history, was that
Right.
really a good idea?
No.
I know. I
No.
don't blame the Red Sox at all
Not
for
at
not.
all.
It's not the
Not at
Red
all.
Sox fault that Ellsbury. We would have all done the same thing. I think
Yeah.
that Ellsbury's not needed for. But failing to find someone 50%, 70% of Ellsbury's abilities, as failing to find a leadoff hitter to have some kind of facsimile to what Ellsbury brings is what we're dealing with right now. Was that even approached in the offseason? I mean, what was the thought process? Victorino, Pedroia, Bogarts,
Sizemore. Sizemore.
Sizemore. I mean,
Yep.
none of those guys are prototypical leadoff hitter. Victorino's a number two guy. Pedroia is a number two or a three. Victorino's a number two or a three. Um, the Red Sox, their offense was the best when they had a table setter. When they had Johnny Damon back in the mid part of the century, setting the table at the top of the line. When they had Ellsbury setting the table at the top of the lineup. So a lot of people knock the the base stealing, the speed part of the leadoff hitter, and Ellsbury in these parts at least there were some pretty vocal critics about his stolen bases. You know what, man? A lot of those turned into runs, and
Yeah.
just having speed at the top of the lineup. And Ellsbury's a good hitter. When he's healthy, he's a real good hitter. So that set the table. We had our most successful seasons when we had that in place. We do not have that in place right now, and I don't see anybody out there who's going to do the job. So, what we're all kind of getting at here, Shawn, is this season looks like it's lost. Like, what can we do? What possibly can the Red Sox do? Do they have enough talent? Do they have the lineup? Do they have the pitching to actually be competitive this year?
Yeah. No, I think so. I think Ellsbury obviously played a role in the offense over the years. Um, I'm probably a little bit more in the sort of Moneyball sabermetrics camp that doesn't value steals as much, the running game as much as maybe the traditional baseball. But I think having someone with speed, someone who has a high on base percentage leading at the top of the lineup is important. Obviously, you got to get things sparked. You got to get things going. In that,
Yes, I
in
agree
that,
with you on base percentage piece. That's
yeah,
more important than the speed and the steals. I agree
yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and I mean, running game definitely comes into play
Mm-hmm.
in close games. Towards the end of a
Sure.
game where you're trying to get things, where you're trying to push that one last run across. Um, a la David Roberts,
it,
right?
when you have a burner on first, yeah, exactly. When you
Yeah,
have a burner on first base like Ellsbury, it's not just the stolen base that he may or may not get. And the dude got 52 out of 56 last year or something. He was ridiculously good at stealing bases. But it's the effect that it has on the
the
opposing pitcher
pitcher.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
absolutely.
having that
Yes,
speed out there, I don't care if the pitchers all to one degree or another, pitchers get unsettled with the burner on the bases. They try to hold them on as much as you could coach them to just concentrate on the hitter. They don't. It's very difficult to do that as a pitcher. I know. My major league career, I struggled with it. Um, yeah. so it's that effect too. So
yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. But I I don't think that what we're looking at with the Red Sox is a direct result of not having Ellsbury.
no,
Uh,
I agree. Oh yeah, yeah.
or even someone who's a close approximate replacement for him. I mean, because when a lot of the games in that run and even before that, we had men in position, we had men on base.
Mm,
And sometimes you had guys that are normally, a Napoli, an Ortiz, a Pedroia, whatever, up a Gomes, and they didn't do anything, right? I mean,
right.
and so, striking out with men in position, in scoring position, so you saw that a lot.
Mm,
And so, you know, eh, that's not that's not lacking a spark in the offense. That's lacking a closing follow through, an ability to get those guys home instead of. I mean, I
correct.
don't know what the numbers are, but I think. the offense has been struggling. At the same time, I bet if you look at the numbers in terms of runners left in scoring position, I bet that's high. Because I mean, I couldn't
Mm,
tell. I mean, so many games I was listening to because I listen to most of the games. Um,
mm,
we had men in position. We had those runners in scoring position that we could have won a lot of those games, but instead of getting that run or two that would tie the game in the eighth or the ninth, we didn't get it and we'd lose. And I
mm.
mean, and so that's a lot of that. You're not giving the pitcher some of the run support. So some of it was an anemic offense, but some of it was, of course, some of it was bad defense, right? I mean,
Okay.
we went up 5-0 on with David Price in the mound, and we still lose the freaking game.
Right.
That's not a problem with your offense. Well, I mean a little bit because I mean they scored 5 runs in the first inning and then didn't score again.
But then
So
they didn't
that's
do anything. Yeah.
but they gave up five. They gave up 6 runs, right? So
Hmm.
I mean if you spot your pitcher 5 runs, you should be able to win a game.
Right.
Even if it is the first inning and you score too early. But
Mm.
it's that's more a defensive problem and a pitching issue. I mean, some of it's just regular defense. That we're having issues over there at shortstop and third base.
Hmm. Hmm.
Xander is um,
He was
not
not a
def-
good shortstop.
well.
Well,
He's not as good as what we need him to be.
no.
And certainly, Drew coming in, I think is
Yes,
obviously
the
an improvement
savior.
there.
Yes.
Well,
I'm
Um,
kidding.
yeah, I hope so because that's a bit oversold. I mean, I think Drew obviously brings a lot to the table defensively.
Hmm.
Offensively, he doesn't really bring a whole lot. You know,
No.
I mean, he can hit the
He's
ball. I mean, he's
Yeah.
okay.
He's got some
You know,
pop. He's okay,
he
exactly.
can't be.
But
He
his
can't.
the main thing he brings is what you said, the defense, and
Yeah,
that's a big thing. That's important. Don't shortstop is
absolutely.
the most important defensive position on the team. That and center field and catcher. So that's big. That'll help the pitching staff. So and it
Yeah,
will stabilize things in the middle of the infield too, defensively. So I
yeah,
think that's an important move. One good thing I think we can look at.
yeah. And if Xander can suck it up and not be a prima donna about it and go to third, I think
Apparently,
that
he was pretty miffed about the move.
I think so. I mean, but
Yeah,
look,
which is okay. He's a young kid. He's got some passion, I guess. I don't know if he's been knocked, but there's been whispers, I guess, in the media more than anything around here that Xander maybe didn't have a whole lot of. He didn't show a lot of passion, I guess. Wasn't very emotive, which is probably unfair. We don't even know
it's
the kid.
totally
Been there
unfair.
a few months, right? But for him to come out and
That's just Boston media being Boston media.
right, it totally
It's
is.
ridiculous. No, the
But we
guy.
kind of liked when he got pissed off about, we heard he had quite a vocal response behind closed doors to the signing of Stephen Drew and the request to go
Yeah,
to third base, which, but that's looked upon as good up the Boston media. So show a little fire, piss and vinegar, and, that's good.
yeah,
But
but at the
I
same time, I
digress.
mean, look, it's like, dude, you you think of yourself as a shortstop. Too bad. Look, if you want to play
Right,
Major League Baseball, you can play third.
right,
You know,
right.
there's 3,000 guys behind you that would gladly do that. So, you
Right.
know, we want to keep your bat up there. I think Xander's a great player. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
moves to
yeah.
third. You Drew at shortstop.
Yeah.
Pedroia on second. Bradley out in center. He's not bringing a lot offensively, but
No,
he's a great center fielder.
he
And
is.
then catching. When Ross is in there, the catching defense is good.
Mm.
AJ is
There's another subject there, Brzezinski. Oy.
yeah. I
He's
mean,
making no friend. Yeah. Have you heard about some of the things going on around here with him?
not a lot. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard of a couple things, but I don't know how much of that is just people talking, how much of it
Hmm.
is for real. Red Sox just tied it up. Uh,
Oh, nice.
so you know,
Yeah, yeah.
it's uh, uh, like
Listen,
what?
Brzezinski's kind of a jerk. Okay, he had that reputation. That's just not the Boston media saying that. He had that reputation. Okay, coming in, and he's done some things and said some things recently that kind of
Like what?
uh,
What has he said? What has he
oh,
done?
okay. I forget who did the bunt, who was bunting last night, but he said in the media that someone was asking. Oh, I forget the exact situation, but he said that after the game, he said, "Oh, so and so laid down the bunt. It was a good bunt, but it wasn't perfect, so I wasn't able to and so forth." So we sort of shunt, and that's not something that you do here. You don't do that in a major league to the media in the major league ball club. You don't say so and so's bunt wasn't perfect. That's why I wasn't able to do my job as well. Okay,
So he
that's
was
what
just making excuses for why
he
he.
somewhat did,
Yeah.
yeah. And
All right.
listen, it was just a thing. It was no big deal. Also, Lester doesn't like pitching to him. You can see his body language on the mound. Brzezinski's not a really good catcher. He drops a lot of balls behind the plate that could be strikes. Okay, and when the catcher drops a ball that really should be a strike, it loses its chance to become called a strike. It almost happens, 7 out of 10 times. Um, he doesn't frame the ball very well, and his hitting is another subject. He loafed it into second base a few games ago. Well, he didn't even slide, excuse me. And he said afterward, well, why would I slide? I knew I was going to be out anyway. Well, dude, you know what?
Yeah, that's not good.
Make the
That's
effort, man. Make it look like you like.
yeah.
Can you imagine Pedroia doing that and
No,
saying that? That's not
no.
leadership. So now I heard this on sports radio up here today that don't be surprised if Przinsky is let go. Not too long. When they get, I think they called up Ryan Lavarnway.
Yeah, I saw that.
Ross and Lavarnway do the job behind the plate. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Przinsky's,
Yeah, but
you can put up
he's
with
been
that
hitting.
guy.
He's been
That's the
hitting.
thing. If
I
he's
mean, he's one
hitting,
of the.
yeah,
Yeah, so I mean that's that's not bad. I mean, so I and
no,
and
you can
I
deal
mean
with that stuff if he's hitting. But yeah,
right. And how's that playing in the locker room? I mean, is it? I mean, yeah, the some of the other pitchers, that's an issue. If pitchers don't like to pitch to him, that's not good, right? But I mean, some of those comments, how is that playing in the locker room? Is that playing in the way it is in the media? Obviously, the media, Boston likes, the Brady types, the guys, the Pedroia types. We eat those guys up. That's what we love. We want that image of some, hardworking, blue collar type Bruschi, Brady, Pedroia type guy, right? Takes the hits, takes all the heat, isn't gonna pass the buck at all, even when it's legitimate. We
yeah,
don't want it.
leadership.
Right, and so we eat that stuff up for you know I think for good reasons, for the most part.
Hmm.
Um, I think sometimes it can be unfair to put on to somebody else,
Sure.
to expect them to be that. I mean, but so how's it playing in the locker room if it's not really causing problems? Then I'm more worried about the 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 pitching situation and whether the pitcher's like, I mean, you have Lester's, it's not pitching a gem, but he's
Yeah,
pitching
but
okay.
yeah,
Three runs, a couple. He's got seven strikeouts so far. He's walked three guys. He's given up 8 hits. I mean,
it's
it's
not pitching great, but he's keeping us in the ball game.
right,
You know.
right. So it's he can't hit worth shit, but whatever. It's National League. Doesn't make any sense anyway.
Yeah, right.
But so yeah, I mean, and so the pitching, and then I mean you have Koji is been Koji. So
Yeah,
there was some worry about that earlier on, but I think it's
yeah,
hard to know. He hasn't really had a lot of action.
yeah,
Um,
right.
but the
Hasn't
bullpen,
been too many. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I think one thing to think about here is where do we, what do we want to see from the Red Sox? Do we want to see them make now obviously no one wants to see them do a panic move, right? And
No.
sell the farm to bring in
Where do
somebody.
we stand? How do we save the season? What are
Well,
we ready
is it
to?
worth say
Are
right?
we selling? Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
is
it
it
worth?
is it is it a rebuilding season or is it
Mm,
or are we retooling, right? I mean, do we want okay, we need
mm.
to retool some things, but we're not giving up in the season, or we just giving up, rebuilding, youth movement, bring up all the young guys, see what they can do, give them some big league experience, and really just not worry about uh, what's going to
I,
happen.
I don't I don't think you can do that 2 months after coming off a championship season. I don't think you can do that, and you
No,
can't do that with the payroll that the Red Sox have. You can't do it in Boston.
right?
So no, no, they have to
They got to
they
find a
have
way
to
to
find
win.
a way. by hook or by crook, they have to stay competitive. We'll revisit this. If they can't do it, if they continue to drop further out of the race, then, maybe second half of the season, come trade deadline, then look to move some chips, move towards youth, look towards next season. But right now, May 27th, no, you still got to do all you can to get the season back because we still have most of the parts from a championship team.
Right.
Now, granted, that championship team, they overachieved. I think we can all agree on that.
Absolutely.
So it's not like they have this powerhouse like they had in 2004. But
Right.
you still have all those parts there. They were able to win a championship with what they have on the field. So you still got to go for it.
Right.
But
I mean, would you be that surprised to see them go on a 10-game win streak?
no, I would not. I
All right.
absolutely would not.
Well, in some ways I wouldn't be. I think maybe 10 games would be a little bit much of a stretch. You'd have to get some luck because of the starting pitching issues. I mean, I can
Sure.
certainly see, going down a stretch where Lester wins two outings back to back, Lackey wins two outings
Yep.
back to back, Peavy wins
Sure.
two outings back to back. Um, you
I can
know,
see him go on like a 14-5 kind of run with
yeah,
some excellent pitching thrown in there, some timely hitting. Poppy starts. Poppy's been pretty good.
yeah.
Pedroia.
Poppy's
You
been hitting
know.
well. Yeah.
Yep.
It's four to
Yeah,
three
I can
now,
see
by the
it.
way. Red
Red
Sox took the
Sox.
lead. Yeah, Red Sox took the lead.
Nice.
So maybe they just needed to get in a little fight. What
Yeah, right.
that was pretty stupid though.
It
Uh,
was
it was just that.
manufactured anger. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was dumb. Um, yeah. So and I certainly don't want to see them make any panic trades. I'd rather,
No, not yet.
uh, see what they can do. Obviously, if there's something out there, certainly be talking, and clearly they are by all media accounts. They're talking, they're looking, they want
Mm.
to see what's out there. There are teams with, we could certainly. It does look like we're going to need another outfielder. Um,
Package
and
Will Middlebrooks and Buckles to get something maybe. Let's put
yeah.
that out there. We
Whoa,
haven't
whoa.
mentioned Middlebrooks. What a disappointment he's been. When something happened in the game? Oh, he's
Yeah,
6'3".
yeah. Jackie Bradley with a two RBI single.
Atta boy,
And
JBJ.
um, so
Middlebrooks, dude. Holy cow. What a
yeah,
disaster. I'm sorry, man. What a disappointment he has been.
really
Fragile, made of glass. Yes. You
dating
being
Jenny
sarcastic?
Dell though. I mean, come on.
Yeah, well, that's the only good thing he's done here in Boston. So he still has some value too. Buckle still has some value. I don't know. Now I'm
Yeah,
sounding
no,
like one of those
no,
callers, but
no. I think that actually that makes it. I mean, a team that might be looking to get willing to take a little bit of a risk, um, with two guys who have some injury history, have some inconsistencies, but have tremendous upside if they can pull it together. You know, maybe. I mean, maybe actually packaging them together might not work because a team may be willing to take one of those guys with another prospect and say, okay, well, we get one guy who's more likely to hit, but we'll take a risk on this other guy, right, and see what happens. So that's a possibility. Um, but I don't know. What are you going to get in return? I mean, Middlebrooks is definitely more movable, right? Just in terms of position player. We have
mm,
guys that I mean,
sure.
Holt's been playing well. We have other guys, Herrera, you know, uh, Bogarts. Now you got Drew in
Mm,
the mix. We don't
mm.
necessarily need another infielder, so that
No,
that
we
makes
don't.
that makes Middlebrooks a lot more movable. Um, and what do we get back in return? I think we're willing to take a hit with Middlebrooks in a way that we don't like with Buckholz. We need another starting pitcher if we trade him, right? With Middlebrooks, we can go for some prospects. We can go for some other things that and take some risks there that I don't think we can do with moving Buckholz. So I think we'll see Middlebrooks moved in the next couple weeks, and something either with some prospects probably and probably get a center not a center fielder but some sort of outfielder back. I bet is what we get. Maybe a pitcher, um, someone from middle relief or something if you move Workman and
Yeah.
Guppy, whatever that guy's name is. Um,
Capuano.
Capuano.
I'm thinking about moving to the North End, by the way, Sean.
That's kind of random.
Capuano.
Oh, I
Got to
got
get
you.
my pie. Got to get my Paisan speak down if I'm
All
going to move to
right,
the North End.
I got
Anywho,
you. Anywho, the other kind of big story with the Red Sox is Jerry Remy and his son,
oh yeah,
Jared
oh
Remy.
man,
So, it's not
oh,
really sports related. It's Boston sports related in the sense that Jerry Remy
mhm.
is the voice of the Red Sox TV broadcast. His
He's the
son,
Rem Dog.
the Rem Dog, his son was pleaded guilty to first degree murder charges and
Mm.
sentenced to life in prison without parole. Um, that,
Oh, was that a fact?
yeah,
Did they sentence him today too?
yeah,
Oh wow, I didn't hear that part.
yeah,
Life without parole.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. I guess
So,
that's to be expected. Okay.
yeah. I think that was sort of a given once he pled guilty.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
so that
I just
that
didn't
part
know it came down that way, but yeah. Okay.
that part's obviously good in the sense of justice. The question that a lot of uh, that seems to come up a lot, and that was they were talking about a lot on the radio today, and they were talking about a lot in the beginning of the season, was whether or not Remy should have been continue. Two issues. One, what is Remy's culpability in this in regards to his son,
Mm.
and then the other question is whether or not he should have continued broadcasting for Nesson. And we've talked a little bit about this offline.
We have.
My view is I didn't have a problem with him continuing on the TV broadcast. I I I don't watch a lot of the Nesson games. Obviously, being out here in Illinois, I don't get a lot of that. Occasionally, pick it up here or there. Um, so it's hard. It doesn't affect me as much. But when I watch it, I wasn't thinking that kind of thing. Even when I saw him on TV, maybe doing some interviews or something, it didn't pop into my head. And I
Agreed.
think,
I
maybe
thought it would, but it didn't with me either.
yeah, and I think most fans didn't. Like with most things, for good or bad, life goes on,
Mm.
and people that aren't directly affected by the story aren't going to be thinking about it. You know, and so I think,
Correct.
obviously the families that are involved uh, are thinking about it, and so I can understand it being hard for them, friends and family of the victims, to to watch the broadcasts, and to be constantly reminded of that. That's to be expected. They're going to be reminded of it, and it's hard for them to watch. But overall, I think most people, not to say they forgot about it, but it wasn't something that they were thinking about when they're watching the
No.
games. And I don't, and connected to the other question, this culpability. I mean, obviously, if he had any kind of culpability, certainly legal culpability here, that yeah, that would be a totally different story. But no one's saying that. I mean, the questions
No,
of
of course
culpability
not.
are more about the enabling thing. But so
Right, which you and I talked about offline too. And I still, well, uh, that's not a discussion I think for here. But as far as his parenting and at one point do you stop protecting a child from himself? That's another discussion. But I think you and I may disagree on that. But as far as his being a distraction to the fans with his broadcasting, I thought it was going to be a bigger distraction than it turned out to be. I thought for me personally, it was going to be a distraction, and not at all. I barely even think about it. Remy is the same really good analyst that he always has been.
so Remdog, it didn't affect you. It didn't really
No, it didn't affect me the
distract
way I
you.
thought it would.
Yeah.
No, so I was wrong about that. And like I said, Remy's been doing an excellent job. Brought his A game. Hasn't let it hit. It doesn't seem to have affected his the quality of his analysis anyway. So um, move on, move forward. And frankly, with the fact that his son came out and pled guilty, and there's not going to be a just nasty public trial throughout the summer and fall. Um, Makes it even better
Yeah.
in that perspective, in that framework that we can all start to, well, as fans at least, start to put it behind us, I think, and move
Yeah.
forward and let Remy do his job and all that. So,
Right. Right. And like we don't need to really get into it, but I tend to be more forgiving of Remy's parenting based on what I've read
Mm,
about it. I mean, that I don't think I don't think he really went above and beyond what most normal parents or most average parents would do for their kids. So, that's that, but we can move on from that. Obviously, the Red Sox are the main thing going on right now in Boston sports. One other thing, right? You got the Celtics had their draft. They got what, the sixth pick, I think. Yeah, the
yep,
sixth.
sixth
So
and the 17th, by the way. But yeah,
yeah, I think they're likely. Seems like the most of the buzz is that they're gonna package those in some way to move them
mm,
for a player rather than drafting. But
yeah.
I don't know.
Kevin
Such
Love is there.
That's the buzz. That's the buzz.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know if that will help one way or the
yeah.
other. I don't know if it will spark
Well,
my.
Getting Kevin Love would be really good for the team. He's a top 10 player. He's really good.
Yeah,
Not a great defender, but really good. Very polished offensive game. Decent defender, not great.
yeah,
So getting him, you could build it, and he's young too. You could build a team around that. But getting him would be having Rondo and Kevin Love play together for the next however many years would be we'd be significantly competitive, I think, with a
yeah.
few other parts around them. But getting him is the trick. I don't think that the Celtics have any inside edge on getting Kevin Love or anything like that. So I don't know. Danny Ainge has pulled some magical moves in the past.
Right.
So I don't know what his juju is, but if he can pull it off, it'll be good. But
Yeah.
getting the sixth pick, I don't know it. Believe me, I don't know the draft or the NBA very well at all. But
No.
sixth pick from everything I've read and heard in this draft is
Kind of
not
useless.
going to, yeah, it's not going to put the Celtics on the map
No.
anytime soon. So
Yeah. Yeah. And it's sad to say I don't want to sound like a bandwagon fan or not a bandwagon fan, but like a front runner or whatever. But it's basketball. Like we've talked about this before. Basketball is just kind of fallen off our radar in some ways, and I think a big part of that is because the Celtics have been, except for a bright spot, um, 2008, they've just been missing in action, and it's been hard to kind of get into it. And the rest of the NBA just isn't interesting to me. Um, I LeBron is a fantastic basketball player, but I just don't get excited about him, and
no,
I'm not really interested in watching that. So
no,
moving on then, um, you know, the Bruins are obviously done. We've beat that dead horse quite a bit.
we
Um,
have.
though it looks like the Canadiens and the Blackhawks are going to be done as
Mm,
well. Both of them are on their way out.
mm-hmm.
Uh, so um, then we got the Revolution. Revolution are
Revs,
on a tear. They've won five games in a row, fifth straight match.
mm,
Um, and
top spot in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, they've beaten some good teams, so DC United and the Sounders, and so it's been pretty good for them,
Yeah,
So that's good.
Sean, I don't know too much. I'm going to start following it a little closer. I love the sport. I just haven't gotten into MLS over the years.
Yeah,
But having a really good local team like the Revs, I think might be, and plus you being a fan, those two things might contribute to me starting to pay a little more attention to them. Couple questions. One, easy, simple. When does how does the season go through the summer?
yeah,
Okay,
um,
so I can follow this in the summer instead of if the Red Sox stink.
yeah. I'm trying to think of when the MLS Cup is. It's definitely. I have to look it up here. It's in nice weather time, so
Okay.
it's not into the fall, um,
Mm,
and so I think it's probably in when is their season and
August, September, maybe.
yeah, yeah, that's what I feel like. I'm trying to see if I can find it real quick,
Pull it up.
um, but because I just remember watching previous cups. So this looks like it was more November, so October,
Oh,
November. So
okay.
last year's cup. So I remember watching. several years ago when the Revs were in it more because they were like in four cups in a row and
Yeah.
so
How
um
recent was that, Sean? The four cups in a row. It was
that was
recent,
it
right? A
was
couple years back.
it was like 2004 or five around that
Oh,
end.
okay, that far.
So it's about 10
Okay.
years ago. And so I remember going outside. It was nice weather out. Maybe it was just unseasonably warm. But
Why are
anyway,
the Revs so good? Like, what? Who are their
well,
best players? What
they
makes
got
them
some
such a good
young
team?
they got some young players. They got this young guy Patrick Mullins, and
Mullins, huh? Okay.
yeah, so and he's been solid for them, and I think he's put some balls in the net for them, and that's helped. And
He's
uh,
forward. He plays striker or wing or something.
uh,
Do I even have those positions named correctly?
yeah, it was definitely striker. I don't know if they so much have wing positions, but striker is a position. Um, I'm not 100% sure what his position is. Um, he's a
Because you could be a
striker.
pretty good midfielder and still score some goals.
Yeah, no, he's a striker. He's a striker.
Hmm.
And so and he's been anchoring. But and now to be full disclosure here, I'm not really watching these games. I watch the condensed matches on MLS.com or whatever on online because they don't have a great TV contract and so I don't really get to see a lot of MLS games. But they what was I saying? Oh, so I just I watch the condensed matches and I read up on them. So it's not like I'm talking from a real strong position of authority here. But
Hmm.
so they got this young guy Mullins who I think has been kind of helping sparking their offense. Um, so that's been exciting. I mean, I do have to say, I watched a lot of English soccer this year, Liverpool, and uh, MLS has gotten better. It's still not as good as European football. Um,
Sure.
it's just, I mean, I watch the English
Be
Premier League.
surprised if it was.
Right, yeah, but it is surprising to notice the difference. I mean, not only I watched the Champions League match, the All Madrid Champions League match last Saturday on
Mm,
Saturday, and then I watched the MLS replay game, and it just the feel of the game is so different. I mean, it's hard to
mm,
pinpoint what the difference is,
mm,
but there's just a level of intensity and of movement on the field that's just not the same. So
mm,
it's a little harder for me to watch MLS, but
mm.
I'm excited about the Revolution, and I hope to hopefully they'll have some of their matches on NBC and
Right.
I'll be able to catch some of their games. My son gets excited about it. So and
Cool.
the condensed matches are great for him because he can just they're like 10 minutes, and so he can just watch the goals and be excited. So um, and so the Revs have been exciting. And let's see, I don't know what else is going on Boston sports wise. With Liverpool, they did extend Brendan Rodgers, who's their manager's contract for several more years, so that's good. He's been a big part of their success this last
Okay.
year, so that's exciting.
Didn't they let go of a long-time manager a few years back and it was kind of controversial? Or am I making that up?
You might not be waking
Like
it
when
up.
Henry bought the team, he made a big move or
Maybe
something like that.
it might have made a big move.
Mm,
I don't know offhand.
okay.
But he's
Neither do I.
Roger's been the manager for a couple years now, so
Okay.
uh, you know, so they just redid his deal and extended, and I'm sure he's making a lot more money after his
Hmm.
uh, after his good season. So
No, good for him.
yeah, that's good. So I think that about covers it. We definitely still keep having on our back burner here to talk about the Patriots' schedule. I think the spring collapse of the Red Sox here has distracted us a bit from that. So I think one of the things we were talking about was trying to break that up over a couple of podcasts, 3 or 4 podcasts maybe, dividing up, talk about the schedule in thirds. Talk about the first 4 or 5 games, and then the next 4 or 5,
Mm.
and then the last 4 or 5. Um, Whatever would add up to 16. So,
You're good
uh,
at math.
anything else going on?
No, not much, man. I think we pretty well covered it, man. Nice talking to you, Sean, as usual.
Always keep it real.
Keep it real, Kleino.
This has been the Boston Sports Pod. You can find us at bostonsportspod.com and on iTunes. Thanks for listening.